To one of the first podcasts, the J&J podcast. Today is October 27th. This is episode 01. Jeff, J. Cunningham, and Josh Lewis here. We are going to be talking about a variety of different topics today, basically to give you an example of what this podcast is going to be about, which you'll find out over the next coming episodes, next coming weeks, is that the J&J podcast. Today is October 27th. This is episode 01. Jeff. Now, hold on one second. I don't know, Jeff, can you hear that? I have a basically to give you. Are you watching it? Or what this podcast is going to be about over the next coming episodes, next coming weeks. Is that from yours? The J&J podcast. Today is October 27th. This is episode 01. Jeff. Now, hold on one second. I don't know, Jeff, can you hear that? I have a basically to give you. Are you watching it? Or what this podcast is going to be?
Yeah, it went
over the
delayed.
Episodes next.
All right, we're back. We're catching up.
Is that from yours? The J&J podcast.
You have it open in a browser? You get show notes for we're recording, we're live. I can't hear you anymore though.
Yeah, because what was happening is it is in the Restream browser. Now, I don't know if I go out of the
show notes for
Restream browser.
So what I would do, by the way, because I would mute the browser. We're recording, we're live. Do that? I can't hear you anymore though.
Yeah, because what was happening is it is in the Restream browser. Now, I don't know if I go out of the show notes for Restream browser.
So what I would do, by the way, because I would mute the browser. We're recording live. Do that? I can't hear you anymore though.
Yeah, because what was happening is it is in the Restream hold on, can you just start sharing screen? Because now I messed everything up.
What I would do, by the way, because I would mute the browser. Do that?
Do you have anything open right now?
No.
Hold on. All right. I think we're good. Say something. Okay. Welcome to the J&J podcast. This is episode 1. So had some technical difficulties. I apologize about that. Hopefully that never, ever happens again. I figured out what we needed to do in order to not do that. So what this podcast is going to be about is we're going to be talking about business. We're going to be talking about current events. We're going to be talking about politics, different things. Really, you have two, I want to say experts, but you can always learn a little bit more. So one thing is this is going to be from a leadership background, because that's where I come from, and also from a marketing background where Jeff comes from. If you guys don't know, Jeff J. Cunningham is a marketing and branding expert, and he's the founder of Changing Lives Consulting. I am Josh Lewis, and we are brothers, and I've been teaching management and leadership for the past 10 years. You can go to joshlewisleadership.com to figure out more about that. We are not going to plug ourselves on this show. That's just an introductory on this first episode. More of, we're just going to have our take on different stories that are going on in the nation, in the world. Strongly, the reason why I want to do this is because I believe we need to learn more about how to manage and lead people better And I want to create more leaders in this world. So when we create more leaders, we're going to have an impact, a greater impact on this world. I think Jeff is going to have a really, really great take when it comes to how these people are getting attention, what they're doing to sustain it, and the right moves that they're making. And this is going to be a lot of fun. So today's topics that we're going to discuss are going to be the Maine mass shooter, what is happening and going on with that. The new Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, his comments on Ukraine, Joe Biden wanting to ban assault weapons for probably the 50 millionth time.
What else is new?
Jada Smith's book is one of the worst selling books by a celebrity, and Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou fight this weekend. Before we begin, Jeff, you got anything to add about the podcast?
No, I'm very excited. Very excited about doing this. Hope you can hear me loud and clear. Definitely, yield to leadership. I think we've been inspired by a lot of the best. Excited to get this first one out the belt, and really kind of, you had this vision before and I kind of took it the wrong way. So I like what you're doing, and I'm learning about some current events as I don't try and watch the news. I make the news, but I do read the Wall Street Journal a little bit, and there was nothing about the Maine shooter. So that's, I did hear about it, but we'll get into, are we going in the order or are we going?
That's it. We're going to go into the first story. So really what I want to do is I want to talk about that. And the first story from what I see is, and I'm going to bring it up shortly, but from what I could see, the live updates were at least 18 people were killed. The shooting unfolded in two locations, a bowling alley where a children's league was taking place and a local bar, officials said. The manhunt is currently going on and intensifying for Robert Card, who allegedly killed 18 people and injured 13 others in a mass shooting in Lewiston, Maine on Wednesday evening. This is 2 nights ago. So right now there's 18 victims, 18 people killed, and the names were released on Friday. They were banning people from going out, telling people not to go out anymore as they were looking for him. And right now the manhunt is continuously going. So while I bring this up, Jeff, what are your initial thoughts when you hear, hey, a mass shooting's happened?
Yeah, my initial thoughts of mass shootings, there's shootings happen every day. Why do we politicize this one? Why is this one here? Like, you can go, and we know some of our best friends were Hartford police officers, and there's people who die every day, and there's shootings that happen. So why do we I always look for a different agenda of what makes the news. Now I'm looking at anything with the news of, okay, through a lens of from high above, why they picked this one to broadcast it,
So it's very interesting. From what I heard at first in the story, I'm going to share my screen. What I heard first in the story was that this gentleman was
I'm going to the trusted CNN news network. You think Elon Musk will buy CNN?
Manhunt continues after Maine shooting rampage. Law enforcement has not seen Lewiston's suspect in the past 2 days, despite receiving 530 tips. What we know so far, an intensive manhunt continues more than 48 hours after Wednesday's shooting rampage in Lewiston, Maine, that left at least 18 dead and 13 wounded, according to authorities. Officials has lifted a shelter-in-place order for residents. So they told everybody shelter in place. Currently, that's lifted at the moment. The suspect, 40-year-old Robert Card, faces an arrest warrant for 8 counts of murder and should be considered armed and dangerous, police said. He is a certified firearms instructor and U.S. Army reservist, police said, and his background could make him finding more challenging and dangerous, experts told CNN. Investigators recovered a cell phone belonging to the suspect and a note that indicated he didn't expect to be alive when it was found, according to a law enforcement official. Police are investigating a motive and searching waterways near where Card's car was found. The Maine rampage is the deadliest mass shooting in the U.S. this year, and the deadliest since the Uvalde school massacre. At least 566 mass shootings have happened this year across the country, according to the Gun Violence Archive. So that's the basics of what CNN is reporting. Originally,
what makes it a mass shooting? How many people?
That's a good question. So I believe if it's more than 3 or 4, it's considered a mass shooting. Let's figure that out right now. But that's a good question.
And also, there was one person who
There
said,
are variety of definitions of mass shooting tracker, any incident in which 4 or more people are shot, whether injured or killed. So what's happening with this is when this story originally broke, the pictures that were released, this guy looked Muslim, and they suspected it was a terrorist attack. Now, any attack that is inducing terror on other people can be labeled a terrorist attack, but with the motive being behind it, having to do with Israel, Palestine, or things of that nature, was originally, when this first broke on Wednesday night, is what people were saying. Now I can't find anything where anybody's saying anything like that. Could have been completely.
well, could have been a picture of the guy. Like, I love when you see these guys who, the Timothy McVeighs, and they just look off, you can just tell, like, there's evil people in the world. There's bad things that happen. By the way, this is nothing new. Like, back in the Bible days or back in any days, there's always been, like Barney Fife, Andy Griffith's show. You remember there's the killer was on the loose and Barney Fife was like quaking in his boots. I just thought about that. Everybody's going out, And
Yeah.
Because I used to want to be a police officer for one time, and I would want it because I like uncertainty, going after the bad guys is kind of one reason why I'd go on there. So Robert Card.
This is a Fox News story. Fast facts. Robert Card carried out a mass shooting at 2 different locations. 18 dead, 13 injured. Hundreds of law enforcement officers attempting to locate Card, who is described as being armed and dangerous. President Biden has briefed on the mass shooting. Maine Governor Janet Mills has encouraged residents to follow directions from law enforcement. Card has not been spotted since the deadly shooting Wednesday evening that spanned. Originally had pictures. I don't know if the pictures. So I'm not going to play Fox News, but photos the hunt for the killer in Maine. Yeah, this picture right here was the first one that was shown. Oop, not that. These ads are coming in. So, released the timeline of the mass shooting at 6:56. The Auburn Communication Center was alerted that an unidentified man walked into Just-in-Time Bowling, which was recently renamed from Spare Time Recreation on Mollison Street in Lewiston, and began shooting. Police said multiple 911 calls that followed confirmed the shooting. How horrible is that? Listen, I can't even imagine being like with my son at some place and somebody comes in and just starts shooting. Originally, what is said is he was going to go to an army barracks. I might have this wrong, but he was going to go to, maybe we'll read it in here. Police alleged shooter to the media. The surveillance photo showed a man wearing a brown sweatshirt and holding a rifle. We're walking through the doors decorated with bowling pins and a bowling ball. Carter's a trained firearms instructor, recently reported mental health issues, including hearing voices and threats to shoot up the National Guard base in Maine, according to a Maine law enforcement. So they knew this guy was going to do this. There was a report of mental health issues, including hearing voices and threats to shoot up. He's also a petroleum supply specialist in the Army Reserve, having enlisted in December 2002. An Army spokesperson told Fox News, adding that Card has no combat deployments. Officials have yet publicly named any of the 18 victims. Police have confirmed that 7 people, 1 female and 6 males, were killed at the bowling alley, which was holding a youth league at the time of the shooting. 8 males were killed. 3 additional people died after first responders. So how do we unpack this? How do we approach this?
I mean, just like this isn't the first time there's a mass shooting. I mean, here's the deal. I used to teach behavior middle school kids. There were some kids that you just knew were kind of like a little bit crazy. And, it was funny because, when me and you were young, and I think any kids, we used to not be allowed to play with the guns in the toy aisle, remember? Right. So, but then there are some people of just knowing the difference of where it's at. And it's funny because I think so many times, when certain things happen like this, especially it gets covered in the news. This is why this, like, okay, so it takes 3 people. There's someone probably died right now in Chicago right now in the street or in Hartford, Connecticut, right, to a gun or something like this, right, to and not to a gun, I don't want to say it that way, but I just mean like why when we like, and I hate to say it this way, and I don't want to make it this way, but I do want to address it, and this isn't like the market. Anytime there's like a famous white person who kills a lot of people, it gets news. I just, right? Am I wrong on that or no?
I know where you're going, and I agree with that. Anytime there is somebody who fits the bill of what the media wants to push, they're definitely going to push it.
Seems like we're doing the same thing. Like, here's the thing: there's people who are dying right now in the streets to gangs and stuff every day, and yet we're going to go over this whole thing, say why, and we should do guns when Chicago and certain states, okay, have the worst gun laws, okay, meaning for it is, and it made me think, man, it would have been better if everybody in the bowling alley, I wish, I'm here in Florida, right? You can carry a gun. And I believe that's more the way to go, because what's going to happen now is people are going to say, well, he's mental health, you got to go. It's just, I can just see the slippery slope with everything going on, and being so. The reason why we have the Second Amendment is that, and it's just going to get in a push of, oh my God, he's mentally unstable. There's things in here, people aren't, right? And I just think it's going to go down that route. That's anytime these go, they always go that and they push for it. And now we have the world at such array. This is the one time I think that I literally think banning guns is the least thing. Listen, a horrible tragedy. I want to stay away from that. It's just, but I can see the bigger picture on everybody else than just what's the subject matter,
So there's a couple different ways to look at this. There are some people who are saying that this is a planted story. It's a real event, but it was planned in the sense that they're trying to take away guns from the American people. So this was planted on purpose by the government so they can just move forward and start to take away the guns. I don't think that's the case, but this is what I do think. The police are reporting that this guy has been making threats for months. There seems to be a pattern with every mass shooter, and that is a mental health. Now, I agree with you. There's videos that I've seen, horrible videos that I've seen on Twitter, on X, that are just gang violence. And it's literally one guy's running away from another guy down the street, and the guy runs and he trips and he falls, and the guy comes out, shoots him in the head, and then he goes to walk across the street, looks again, doesn't know if he's dead, and just puts a couple of bullets in him and walks across the street. I have no idea who that guy is who died, but that stuff happens all the time.
It's going to make the news. That stuff, and not to say this doesn't make me mad, it just makes me so much mad that we're not putting a highlight on all those things. Like, you go turn on the 6 o'clock news, man dies in the street, they just report it every once in a while,
Right. Well, this is the challenge that we have right now as a society. This is a horrible tragedy. This is one of those things that is, I think, when it comes to mental health, every single person who has had a mass shooting that I remember, there's always something regarding with mental health. So what does the conversation look like? Because as Americans, we have the right to bear arms as citizens. So what does the conversation look like? If somebody has repeated issues of mental health, are they allowed to get a gun? Now, this guy was in the Army. He originally seemed like his target was he wanted to go after the National Guard. But maybe even though he had mental health, maybe he was smart enough to figure it out, man, if I go to the National Guard, they probably have guns and they're probably going to kill me. So why don't I go to a place where they don't have guns? I don't know if that's the case. I can't get inside this guy's head, but he said that he wanted to go to the National Guard and shoot that up first, but he decided to pick a bowling alley with families and kids at a youth group, and he decided to go to a bar and shoot up people. Listen, I can't get in the head of people that are mentally ill. I don't know if I want to, but this is something that is rare, but it does happen. And I think it happens because we have a mental health epidemic in this whole entire country. And I think certain people process things differently. And I would say that the gang violence that we talked about, that people die every single day, their mental health is they're processing things daily and they're kill or be killed, where the anxiety might be like, oh my God, I might be killed. But their process is, if that person goes against me, then I'll just kill them. And that's normal to them. And that's how they live. And
but it's also bigger than that. It's what people are feeding their mind. And funny, you can't just say everything's mental health, because although there's a mental health epidemic and you can say that, it's what are you feeding your mind, right? And like, if we go take the guy, the Hartford or Chicago shooter, they're listening to stuff in their mind all about that, right? Like this is the type of music they listen to, right? This is the type of life and coal style. And I was listening to a song the other day, I was in Miami down by Bayside, and a guy was listening to a thing, and it was like, I forget the lyric was, but it made so much sense. And it was kill or be killed, and don't call me this way and respect me, or I won't be here. And that was the lyrics, but you could tell, like, I didn't relate to it because I didn't grow up in that, but I could tell the reason why the guy rapped the song, because that's where he came from, right? And this whole rap culture came from there. But yeah, mental health, I don't think you could say it's a mental health epidemic. I think it's what you feed the mind. I think that's what they want people to say, is it's a mental health epidemic, because then it's very easy to do a prescription and say, well, if you're mentally health, you can't own a gun. Like, that's why this one makes the news. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, here's the thing. I know this.
You have to be demonic and evil. There's got to be a spirit that takes over when you do a mass shooting at any level. That's what I believe. I believe stuff too. So my whole point in saying that is just to say people are just mental and do it. I think there's, we're going against, not flesh and blood, but, spirituals and principalities. And they're like, to look at everything that's going on in the Middle East, a lot of that, and even the deception, right? The first casualty of war is the truth. And now nobody knows what's going on in there,
Yeah, and that's something that we can definitely get to. I think when I say things regarding mental health is, for me, I like to find patterns, right? So if you find patterns in things, then you can understand sources. If you are good at pattern recognition, then you can figure out where that comes from and things of that nature. So for me, when it ever comes to management or leadership, if there's an issue going on, I want to find out what's causing it. And if there's something that is repeatedly happening that's causing it, a cause and effect that is happening over and over and over again. And it seems, and I agree with you, this is spiritual. This is demonic. Anybody who wants to go in and take out lives of massive amounts of people, there has to be some form of evil in that, 100%. But stepping back for a second and looking at it logically, like just logically, and I know we're talking about something spiritual as well, but looking at it logically, if there's a pattern, if there's a pattern that we know that, what do? Do we start to take it more serious when somebody's saying, hey, listen, this guy said he wants to shoot a bunch of people up? Do we take it more serious, or just continue doing what we're doing?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's what we do. I mean, yeah, obviously the common sense answer is, hey, you take it more serious, hope this doesn't happen. Like, we don't report, you always report the bad stories when it doesn't happen. There's stories that happen when there was something tipped off and the intelligence gets in and they shut something down, and the guy has, we've seen the stories shared on TikTok and Instagram. The guy has a gun, they go to rob the thing and he goes away, right? But those stories don't take as much news when that could have turned into a thing, because it's not a bad story, right? The car accidents get the more stories. So my point in saying that 100%, that's what you do. Take it more serious. You put on, you do put on restrictions on certain stuff, but like not on the point where it reflects the Second Amendment. Where we're going right now in the country in 2024 is, it's moving towards going to one world currency, and it's moving towards not having the right. Like, who cares about taking away the guns? They're probably going to take away the money of what you spend. Like, that's really where it's going. So you won't even be able to buy a gun,
And we can expand upon that, but let's go to the next story, because this is going to feed right into it. Next story is Biden urges GOP to pass gun control measures after Lewiston shooting kills 18. In the wake of another mass shooting, President Joe Biden on Thursday urged Republican legislators to pass several gun control measures to fulfill their duty to protect the American people. A White House statement said on Wednesday, 18 people were killed at a bar and bowling alley in Lewiston, Maine. Suspected shooter Robert Card, 40, has so far been charged with 8 counts of murder. This is expected to increase as more of those killed are identified by families and next of kin. Biden also urged area residents to heed the warnings and guidance of local officials. Maine State Police urged Wednesday night and Thursday for residents to shelter in place and, in case anyone sees Card, to call 911. He echoed what Governor Janet Mills said at a press conference on Thursday, that he would support her and local law enforcement until Card is found to help those impacted by the mass shooting. The president then asked Republican lawmakers in Congress to take action in wake of what's happened. Today, in the wake of yet another tragedy, I urge Republican lawmakers in Congress to fulfill their duty to protect the American people, he said. Work with us to pass a bill banning assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, to enact universal background checks, to require safe storage of guns, and end immunity from liability for gun manufacturers. This is the very least we owe every American who will now bear the scars, physical and mental, of this latest attack. What are your thoughts when you hear something like that?
So yeah, so 100%. So I always joke around saying I'll run for president one day, but this is a very serious issue. Second Amendment, all the way is what this country was founded on, the reason why it was. So you kind of go in here and you have the people on that. I do think, but this is what worries me, like who's doing the background checks, right? Like I think it makes sense to do background checks. Common sense is, do background checks. Mental probably shouldn't get a gun, but it's a very slippery slope of all of a sudden, I go to get, a new assault rifle here, right, to protect myself, and stuff goes crazy. And all of a sudden, just by random, I'm not passing background checks and I can't get a gun, right? Now, should it be so easy where you just go in and go buy one? I know, like, that's the thing, that it's not the gun's the problem. You know what I mean? Like that's the biggest thing. It's always who's behind the gun, who's getting it. So I literally, and I always get some pushback on this, but I do think having some sort of background check in place, even though it's slippery slope or something, you got to do something, man. You can't just sit there and expect the same thing for it. But I mean, I think you're more likely to have, if we had everybody in the bowling alley strapped and wearing guns. This is something Trump said, but I agree more than he doesn't kill 18. The fact that the bad guys have the guns and we're making it harder for the good guys to get the guns, that's never going to be okay. So like that's my solution there is,
So this is how I process this. I was watching the PBD podcast. I think it was Vinny who made a good like metaphor to this. He talked about House of Cards. Have you ever seen House of Cards, Jeff?
No, maybe one or two.
It's worth watching. The first 4 seasons are. PBD jokes it's the documentary on the Clintons because it just seems like it is. But
wait, is that the one with Kevin Spacey in it?
Yes, it is.
Oh, I have seen it then, yes.
So there's an episode, and I believe it was Vinny who explained this, that something happened in the state of Georgia and the teachers started doing a teacher union, and now kids weren't in school. So there's a part where Kevin Spacey, Frank Underwood, is sitting in front of a radio. He's listening to a police scanner, not a radio. And all of a sudden he hears car accident, 16-year-old girl. And he goes, boom, we got it. And he goes out and says, hey, 16-year-old girl, if teachers were in school, this girl wouldn't have died. And he can now push his agenda, right?
Narrative, yeah.
So, and his narrative, brilliant. Honestly, it's brilliant. Now, I'm not saying that it's good. I'm just saying it's smart strategy. This is what I think that the left and Democrats tend to do when it comes to a situation wherever there's a shooting or a mass shooting. Now, He wants to assault. He wants to ban assault weapons and high capacity magazines. And then this is one thing that I'm not a fan of everything Joe Biden says. I will make that very clear. He said, we have like amazing planes, like F-16s, whatever it is. He's like, you really think that your guns are going to do anything against us? That's basically what Biden said. He was like, so you're upset that we're taking away your assault weapons? The government has way more than you. And he kind of laughed while he said it. He didn't say it as eloquently as I'm saying
He
it.
said that. I'd love to see it. We should find that clip next time.
Let's find it right now. Actually, I'll take a look at it. Because
are there still the militia, man? Are they still out in like you know what I'm talking about, like out in the woods? Because there's been people for a time again, and this is like the diehard Trumper people who they have their guns, they live out in the woods, and they think the government's always trying to take them, and they're building their own little thing, right? I mean, this has gone on, right? Am I not wrong? This has been going on for ever since I was little, you know?
all right.
Right now, you can't go out and buy an automatic weapon. You can't go
So
out
this is
and buy.
what he said, and I'm gonna share this. I don't know if you could hear that. Did you hear any of that?
Loud and clear, yeah.
All right.
Hear that beautiful voice of our president.
Right now, you can't go out and buy an automatic weapon. You can't go out and buy a cannon. And for those brave right-wing Americans who say it's all about keeping America's independent and safe. If you want to fight against the country, you need an F-15. You need something a little more than a gun. No, I'm not joking. Think about this. Think about the rationale that's used to provide this, and who are they shooting at? Shooting at these guys behind me. Folks, look, I went to every major school shooting and around in the country since I was a chairman of the Judiciary Committee all the way through vice president and president. Over 48,000 people died from gunshot wounds in 2021 in the United States of America. Over 26,000 by suicide. Guns are the number one killer. Listen to this. The guns are the number one killer of children in America. Of children, and number one. More children die from guns than active duty police and active duty military personnel combined.
So actually, that's incorrect.
Well, either way, man, we're not banning guns. Like at the end of the day, when people die, like, do you believe that people have here's the thing. This is what I want to say. Do you believe that people, like, if God's in control of everybody, and everybody has a time when the Grim Reaper comes and gets them and they dies? I know this is like really bad to say, right? But like, it's what do you go forward now to, you know?
So it's interesting because this is a Newsweek story, and all the comments are said, now that my president has threatened me with nuclear weapons and jet fighters, I'm totally cool with giving up my only possible means of defense.
I mean, that kind of sums it up right there.
So by this logic, January 6th was never an issue to even be worried about at all, right, Joe? It's interesting. So one of the statistics, and it's always quoted by people who talk about guns, like guns are the number one killer of children. What they do in order to get that statistic is they include 18 to 21-year-olds in children. So if you have somebody from all the way from 0 all the way to 12, the statistics are small. If you have 0 to 18, they're even smaller. But 18 to 21, you have an extreme amount of gun violence. So then they can say that, hey, guns are the number one killers of children. So then that makes people go, oh my God, we need to ban them because they're killing our children. At this point, this is how I unpack this. Biden and the White House are taking a tragedy and they're trying to capitalize on it and saying, hey, listen, let's disarm the people by using this story. We need to call on this. Now, I will say this. This is one of those things that the left and the right have always fought against, and the left has been way more aggressive when it comes to banning guns, banning assault weapons, banning things of that nature. And the right has always been like, you're never going to take our guns. That's always going to be a fight. It's always going to be a battle. It's always been one since I've been a kid. I remember watching it. I remember watching, do you remember the movie An American President? It had Michael Douglas in it.
Yes.
So at the end, he does the State of the Union thing, and like the way the movie ends, it's like, we're gonna go after the guns. And like everybody gets up and they clap and whatever. And I remember watching it as like a kid, and I was like, so that's what this whole movie's about, going after guns. Even though that's not what the movie was about, it's what they wanted to portray. So I think right now the White House is doing actually a smart thing strategically by taking something that is horrible, like a mass shooting, and saying, hey, listen, this is what we believe. We want to take away certain guns. We want to take away certain rights. Now we have emotional leverage on people. People are emotionally inflicted by the situation. We have leverage over them, and we can get them to talk about it and do it. Honestly, this is what I think. I think we're heading towards a way where we're trying to disarm the American people. And it's unfortunate because we're in a rock between a hard place. It's always like, if you disarm the American people, it doesn't matter. Criminals are still going to get guns. They just are, because they don't follow the rules. They don't follow the background checks. They're still going to get guns. But one thing that I've noticed with most of these mass shootings, like I said, pattern recognition is these are not good people, but most of them, and I might need to fact check myself on this, but most of them don't have prior history of violence, but they have prior history of mental health. So if they're going out and shooting a bunch of different people, there's that pattern there where people are killing people every single day. They might kill more people than if there's a gang member and he kills more people than a mass shooter, then he might actually be able to kill more people. But since it's in separate increments, one every week, and that's 52 people that he killed until he finally gets caught, then it's a big deal, and then he's caught and then he's found. I don't know. All I know is this. I think we're moving towards a society where they're going to try and disarm the American people, and I think that's something we need to be cautious of and we need to be aware of. Yes, I think there needs to be some stricter laws when it comes to guns, because, and this is for me, who strongly believes in the Second Amendment, and I don't think that should ever be taken away. So I believe that we just need to have and I don't know if this is going to happen, but like a one size fits all when it comes to all the different states, because all different states are different. I gotta go to a different state and I need a background check and I can go get a gun. Now I understand the reason why that's like that. It's not a federal law, it's a state law, but I
think it's better that way, that you keep it a state law, because then the states can be where they're at and they can make you can test it that if we make Chicago, that every mentally, which is one of the ones that there's a lot of gun violence in Chicago that happens daily. It's happened right now. It's sad. Nobody cares. Nobody's saying anything about it right now. There's a program called Operation Sunshine that teaches kids in there that there's stuff that can be happened. My point in saying that is you can have the states then put in stricter laws, right? But then the states that then, like the Floridas, the Texas, that have the unstricted laws, I mean, then you'll kind of see it in the where it's at. You'll see it'll let people know where. I think this is the best way to say it. In this right here, you don't trust the police or the government, which is true. Nobody trusts, defund the police. They don't want to trust the defund the police. It was a big cry, big movement. And the government, nobody trusts the government. It's like the lowest has been trusted. But you want people giving up the right to own a firearm. Why would you be comfortable if police and government, the only people on the planet with the right to buy a gun?
Yeah, that's a great point, and something that's worth thinking about.
I mean, but I never actually did hear that Biden F-15. That's like those are fighting words there, man.
They are, yeah. So I'm like, listen, Trump doesn't say a lot of elegant things, but he did say one thing during that interview with Caitlin Conaway. I forget, I don't know if that's her name, but when she asked, like, do you want Putin to win? Do you want Putin to win this war? And he said, I want people to stop dying. And that's the right answer. And I'm in that similar boat. The challenge is human beings are flawed. We're always going to have this.
But here's the thing. I actually think up until now, we've actually had, if you study our history, we've actually had a pretty good, up until now, which is everything's getting crazy again. But like, there's been like tragedy and tragedies. Like, look back in Cain and Abel Bible days to then the Civil War. We were actually at a whole Civil War back then. We're not even there right now. We're way ahead advanced, right? It was like we're fighting against each other. So my whole point is we've actually gone through a pretty good stance. Yes, it's still tragedy. We have everything, but I think we have reformed to a society and a point where there is less, before in the Old West, people used to wear guns on themselves all the time, which I do think maybe would be safer, but there's probably more people dying in the streets. There's just the news promoting it, right? The news, I think it's Malcolm X who said, the news is the greatest weapon out of any of them. And with AI now, you can make up anything tomorrow. You can make up an AI mass shooter in Florida and say we're bad. It could not even be real. Like, we're getting to that level.
Yeah, I've noticed that's going on a lot. So I think this is going to lead into our next story, which is the new Speaker of the House. So have you heard anything going on about the Speaker of the House?
Yeah, especially when Sean reached out to me and said, Jeff, you should do Speaker of the House. Right before they elected somebody, it was going back and forth. Do you know who Matt Gaetz is and Lauren Boebert or whatever?
Yes.
So I was in a Twitter Spaces with them. Do you know what Twitter Spaces is?
Yes, I do.
So actually, I should go on Twitter Spaces now. Oh no, I'm trying not to do any of that stuff. But I was in Twitter Spaces with them on everything. And Matt Gaetz, I know he nominated Trump to be Speaker of the House.
Yeah. So one of the things that he said that he would not vote for somebody once they got rid of McCarthy, he would not vote for somebody unless they agreed to release all the January 6th videos. So Matt Gaetz is saying, like, I'm one of the deciding votes because the Republicans, I should look this up, but the Republicans have a very slim majority in the House right now. So when they vote, like, Matt Gaetz could be a swing vote. And he was saying, listen, I'm only voting for somebody who is releasing on the January 6th. I'm not sure if this new guy is actually doing that, but let's get into a little bit what he said about Ukraine. So as we know, everything that's going on with Ukraine is it's a mess. This is a Hill story. So where House Speaker Mike Johnson stands on Ukraine and Israel. So on Tuesday, Johnson became his conference's fourth nominee to replace McCarthy, and he takes over in the midst of multiple international crises, most notably in Israel, Gaza, and Ukraine. There's been a split in the House GOP over aid to Ukraine for its war against Russia, making the passage of some recent bills a tough hill to climb in the lower chamber. So Johnson made a strong statement in support of Ukraine in its effort to fight back against Russia in the wake of the invasion in February 2022. So he said we should impose debilitating sanctions on Russia's economic interests, Johnson said in a statement posted to X, the platform then known as Twitter. We should return to robust American energy production to provide greater stability and security here for our European allies. We should exclude Russia from global commerce and international institutions. Even though the best time to take these actions is past, we must act decisively. America's prayers remain with the Ukrainian people, Johnson continued. In April 2022, he voted for the Ukraine Democracy Defense-led Lease Act of 2022, a bill that aimed to ease the process for the U.S. to send military aid to Ukraine. The bill was later signed by President Biden and became law. However, in recent times, he's taken a skeptical stance toward aid for Ukraine. He voted against two different appropriation bills that provided aid to Ukraine, one in 2022 and another the last previous month. American taxpayers have sent over $100 billion in aid to Ukraine in the last year. They deserve to know if the Ukraine government is being entirely forthcoming and transparent about this use of the massive sum of taxpayer resources. So, from what it sounds like, after gaining the gavel, Johnson was asked whether he supports additional aid to Ukraine. We all do. We're going to have conditions on that, so we're working through. Johnson said, "Well, walking through the Capitol." A clip posted Wednesday to X. "We want accountability and we want objections that are clear from the White House," Johnson later said in response. So this guy strongly believes in supporting Ukraine. He has since become skeptical of it. Where were you, Jeff, when it came to this?
What, Ukraine?
Ukraine. Where were you when it came to the whole thing that was happening to Ukraine, and then we started sending them money? What was going through your head?
What's going through my head is exactly, okay, what do we as America, whenever we're funding, I believe all politicians, not all, but most are corrupt. I believe every time they write a bill, the money doesn't go to them. I believe, and I have no proof of this, it's just what it feels like. The fact we're sending money goes to grease the pockets of a lot of our politicians here. I believe Trump was right when he said, "You think we're that innocent? We're not that innocent." I believe that wars happen all the time around countries in certain places, and we as America put our nose in certain wars for our own monetarily gain. I believe that the same thing what's happening in Israel and everything, and why we're sending people over there is it's George W. Bush over, and why we went for wars of mass destruction all again. It's exactly that's what I believe. It's all made for gain for the US. And it's not, I don't believe it's helping anybody at all. I really don't believe the aid's helping anybody. I believe history is all agreed fiction. I think, and that's what I think. And I actually do think that, when you have a weak leader, okay, like Biden, he's not the strongest leader, is when you see the world go. It's just crazy. People have said this. I voted for Trump twice. And the reason why I voted for him was because he just said it like it was. I don't agree with everything he does. I don't agree with how he was. But I will say that, man, he definitely, nobody wanted to mess under his thing because they felt like he would bomb them all. And if it feels like everybody can mess around in all sorts of times away, like ISIS went away. Now we have Gaza, who supposedly is there. We have this, and we're sending money now to Israel again. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. It's not what it makes America very troubled on everything. And what's the monetary gain? What are we gaining from this?
I want to talk about that and unpack that a little bit. But have you seen this meme?
Yeah, I did see this.
Last month, they made $40 billion working from home. Learn how. This great marketer, Mr. President.
I mean, I will say this. My boy Lex Friedman, he went to Ukraine and saw there's people dying there. There's war. It's not good. I saw videos of war is never good. Okay. But how we impose ourselves in wars as America is worse. It's been worse all the way through. We're sending money. And it's like we're picking a side and we're just creating enemies. And it's like we're policing the world. And
this is the way I want to say it. I'm sorry.
They said, grandma used to say this, charity begins at home. We can't police our own streets. Okay. Hartford, Connecticut, we can't. They're like Hartford, Connecticut, we can send $100 billion to Ukraine, but Hartford, Connecticut, where I taught, where kids got, couldn't do it. We can't send any money there. Like, and that's what we're doing. Right.
I agree. So I'm going to unpack it in this way. So I used to manage a restaurant, right? And now imagine I'm working at a restaurant right across the street. There's a restaurant right next door to us. Mm-hmm. They're competitors, but we're friendly with them, but they are competitors. I come into my restaurant. I'm the manager. I am the general manager. I'm the managing partner. I am the head person in charge. I walk in and I see that our dishwasher hasn't showed up. The dishes are all piling up. The servers come up to me and they say, "Josh, we don't have a dishwasher. What do we do?" And I say, I'm going to fix this. So what I do is I go and I start calling up people and I hire a dishwasher for the next door neighbor, for the next restaurant. I don't take care of the dish problem in my restaurant. I go and I hire the dishwasher for the next restaurant across the street. Now, how do you think once my servers find that out, they're going to go, whoa, hold on a second. We need a dishwasher here. And you just hired somebody and you sent them next door. Why? What's going on? How do you think they're going to feel towards me? They're not going to feel any loyalty. They're going to feel frustrated. They're going to feel angry. And I didn't solve the problems in my own house. This is exactly what we're doing by sending money to other countries that might need help. And I'm not saying that they don't. But what about what's going on with us? Have we walked down the streets of San Francisco or San Diego?
Or Liberty City, Miami?
Walgreens in San Francisco, I might be wrong about this, but San Francisco literally has chains all throughout their freezer section. In order for you to go grab a pint of ice cream in a Walgreens, somebody has to unlock it and take a key because the theft was so bad. That's happening in America. It sounds crazy to even say, but we all go, whatever. There's videos online. People just take videos because now that they're not prosecuting people, if you steal over $1,000, people just go into Walgreens and CVS's and Walmart's and then just stuff up their bags. No mask on, no everything. Like, yeah, you go ahead and film me. And they grab the stuff and they leave. And that's happening on home territory. Not happening, but people are coming in illegally with drugs, with fentanyl, with all these different types of substances. They're coming over illegally. And now we don't know what to do with these people. We're transporting them to different places and we're saying, oh, house them over here and house them over here. Not only that, but inflation is so high. Not only that, but now the price of mortgages have gone 8% for interest rate. So if you have a loan that was $240,000, if you're going to buy a house that was $240,000 and you had a 2.5% interest rate, your payment would be a little bit less than $1,000. Now and today, it's $1,800. So 2.5, 2.7 interest rate, which is great, is $898. Now in today's market, you're spending $1,800 for a $240,000 house. Everything's doubled. We're not taking care of any of that, but we're spending billions of dollars to Ukraine.
They're crashing the dollar. That's what's going on. Like, we're printing money. It's crashing the dollar. Bitcoin's going to go to the halving. There's a time to buy Bitcoin. There's a time to buy gold. Before all, we were moving towards this big bubble burst. Everybody knows, everybody feels it. And these wars are just feeding it. And listen, here's the thing. One thing about Trump that Trump did extremely well was he always said, man, would it be bad to have Russia as an ally? And that I'm going to say that again. All Russia, even Ukraine, it's better to have any of these monster people, as much as we don't agree with everything do, on decent terms and respect for where they're at. Even Palestine and everything like that, and have, Muslim countries as allies is not a bad thing, instead of because we paint these people as like, oh, they're so bad. The American media does it. Okay, we don't do this. When people aren't really that bad. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's really good people in Russia. Before everything happened, I could go visit Russia and probably be okay. Now, is the government corrupt in Russia and Colombia and Cuba and Venezuela? Sure, but it's just as corrupt here. And the worst thing is it's at least more generally corrupt. This is what Andrew Tate said, right? And it's so corrupt on the top that unless you have a lot of money, like a Biden or a freaking Biden's son with a laptop or a Clinton, or I'm sure there's Republican people that I don't know, right? And it's not Republican or Democrat. It's literally fed up with the whole thing. That's why I love that our boy Robert Kennedy Jr. is going out to be independent. And he's talking about the renting raise, saying that everybody, that BlackRock is buying all these houses, which is why they're pushing everybody out for interest rates and doing it so they own everything. And Bill Gates is buying the land.
So who do you think is, and we're going to go on to the next topic, but who do you think is going to Kennedy's going to steal more votes from, Biden or Trump?
I don't think Biden's running. I don't think Biden gets to it. I think it's Gavin Newsom. And I think, listen, I think they're doing everything they can to get to Trump to win. I don't even know if Trump gets to at this point, not because of the indictment or anything like that on him, but I don't know if Trump even gets to the finish line. Like, really, like, are they not trying to do everything to not get him to run?
Oh yeah, 100% they are. Yeah, 100%. Now, that aside, who do you think Kennedy takes votes from?
Probably Biden, because he's more Democrat. He came from the Democrat side anyway, I think Trump, you have never Trumpers. You have people who are going to fight Trump. Trump's leading the polls anyway. Trump is one half America. Trump literally could do his own party and call it the Trump party. I want to give my ideas, and he could probably win.
Right. Well, I think he's got that the never Trump voter. I mean, excuse me, he's got the nobody else but Trump voters, but you also have the never Trump voters, and the never Trump voters are people who don't want Trump, who just think he's evil, and they just don't want to vote for him.
Yeah, but a lot of them, if Biden really won, which do you believe, and I know we're live streaming, it's ridiculous we can't say this, do you believe Biden really won the election, or the election was rigged?
I believe that the election was interfered with in the sense that stories were censored before that.
Which, by the way, this makes me mad. We're in America. I grew up in America. I watched C-SPAN. I watched everything. I will run for government one day, no matter what anybody says. Once I exit my business, I want to, because I can't sit back and watch this country. It's the same thing Vivek said is, hey, I don't think there's going to be, I told someone at the package when I was picking up the stuff for Jasenia, because she's coming here for Halloween, I have her Halloween costume here or whatever it is. I told the guy, I tell everybody I'm going to be president. They remember it better than a marketing consultant, right? So they go, I go in 2028, and they go, 2028? That's soon. I said, yeah, I don't think we have much time left. I missed 2024. We'll see what Vivek can do now. Although Vivek's taking heat for his stance on the Palestine-Israel thing. Dude, nobody can win taking a side on that.
Yeah, so I know we're in a challenging situation. Maybe we can get into a little bit of that. But so for me, talking about whether, and I agree, like, you should be able to say, hey, yeah, I think the election was unfair, and without feeling like there's a hesitant of being banned or striked or something.
We're no different than, we talk about Russia. We're no different than Russia right now. We had election interfered with. That's exactly what happens in Russia. Like, we are, this is where the country's at. This is why I encourage anybody else out here, this is what Patrick, to run for government and do this, and actually, take the term limits and end them. It's going to take people like us to do it, whether or not you want to do it. But like, we need a new republic. We need a new politicians. That's what we need.
I agree. The whole system needs to be. It's
the fact that I knew when I was young and I'm little at Thanksgiving dinner, and they're talking about term limits, and we're still talking about term limits, and nothing's done with it. That's insanity.
Yeah, and
I will listen.
Not only that, but I think social media has magnified the amount of hypocrisy that is coming from all sides, from the left, from the right, and I think people are just fed up. And I think right now, a lot of people, myself included, I'm afraid to vote because, not afraid, but I almost feel as if my vote is pointless, because I feel, even though there's no proof of it, I'm almost like, yeah, they're probably just going to take my vote and throw it away. Like, that's how I feel. Logically, that doesn't make sense to me, but I feel that way. Like, it doesn't matter.
The movie by Dinesh D'Souza, 3,000 Mules?
I have not seen it. I know people have watched it. There's been a lot of criticism towards it, and there's been a lot of validity towards it. So I don't know. I haven't seen it.
What's the criticism towards it?
That it's pulling different, it's conjecture. There's no data, there's no proof. It's just saying, hey, this is what could have happened, as opposed to showing things. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Either way, I watched it, and it really did a really good job. And whatever you watch, you believe, right? Indoctrination. So maybe I'm wrong. Anybody watches it. People, I know there's a girl, Tara, on Clubhouse, total left, like on Nancy, right? And she will not watch the movie because she wants to believe her side. Listen,
Right.
I hope to God's sake the election wasn't rigged and none of it's true. Then we're not in Russia. But if I believe that, I believe we're in Russia. America is no different than Russia right now of what it is. It's no different. We're just living in false freedoms. That's all that's happening. And it's slowly closing on us. So it's going to take people like us to go out there and run for government to change stuff. Because if not, these are all the people passing the bills, you know?
Yeah, I mean, listen, my personal opinion is something really shady went down during the election. I remember watching the videos of them pulling out tubs at 3 a.m. after they said the water main braked. And I was like, that's it, dude. Like, oh my God, what are they doing? This is so wrong. It's so bizarre. And then the fact that like the votes went, like Trump was everything was going, and then Trump's vote stopped and Biden's went up like this, and then just kept going. And
So, yeah, it was,
it just
Also,
seemed very shady.
Vivek speaks very well on this because they try and pin him. Vivek is extremely well spoken. And he says, no, for a matter of fact, it was. And he always goes back to the Biden thing that was in. So they can't get him on saying, oh my God, it's rigged. It was thrown out in all these Supreme Courts, all the whatever they want to say. Listen, I don't trust the Supreme Court. I don't trust anybody right now. The only thing I trust is myself and my intentions going forward, you know?
Speaking of trust, you know who nobody trusts? Jada Pinkett Smith. So we're going to get into this next story, which is, to me, I kind of like, I want to bring this up because
This is a good one. I'm doing a relationship advice tomorrow with the #1 relationship guru coach tomorrow. So I never get divorced and I find the right girl tomorrow on my Instagram live at Jeff the Entrepreneur at 10 a.m. And we share favorite person is Will Smith. And
Jada Pinkett Smith's shocking tell-all memoir, a flop. Book revealing 7-year separation from Will Smith fails to crack top 10 on bestseller charts. She left her fans and critics with their jaws on the floor when she revealed that she and her husband, Will Smith, had been separated and living apart for 7 years, despite presenting the image of a happily married couple. But now, Jada's new memoir, Worthy, in which she shared the status of her marriage and numerous other revelations, appears to be performing poorly on some major book bestsellers list. The 52-year-old actress released the book on October 17th, and it managed to nab the #3 spot in Amazon's charts for the week of October 22nd, which listed top 20 most sold and read books of the week. Amazon main's bestsellers, Worthy, had plummeted just to number 81 as of Tuesday. This is the book right here, Worthy. And then by Wednesday evening, it dropped 3 more spots to number 84. Notably, the main bestsellers charts only track sales, whereas Jada's book placed in the top 3 of the online retail charts. Matrix Star's book also struggled to get readers to leave a review on Amazon.
Was she was in the Matrix?
Yeah, I think I want to say the second or third one.
Dude, Will Smith is like one of the most likable guys in the world. How the hell did he ever marry her?
Listen, if you don't pick the right woman.
Dude, which is why I'm getting on Relationship Voice with Soraya, like Mariah. Soraya tomorrow, 10 a.m. I'm going to do that. Know who was an Amazon bestseller?
Angela
of Empower Money Podcast right here.
So I don't want to spend too much time on this story, but why do you think people aren't resonating with her?
Dude, she just seems like that like, I don't think any woman wants to be like her. I really don't. I think there's a lot of good women out here. And I just think she just seems selfish, man. People don't like selfish people. This is almost like it's not a non-story, but like, this is like, it's troubling because like I see like with Jay and stuff, it reminds me of certain things, some certain women, and there's troubling women out there. And I hope to God I never marry or wind up with someone like, heck, who knows? Maybe Sayuri was like a Jada Pinkett Smith.
So I think this is important to unpack, and this is the reasoning why. There's a line from a song that goes, "Arrogance has never been an attractive trait." And I think what Jada is going through right now is her life is centered around her. Remember how when I was visiting you, I said, me focused, we focused, right? I believe Jada is extremely me focused. And I don't know that to be for certain, but from everything that I've seen, patterns make me think this person is me focused. And I don't think I'm the only one that thinks that. I think a majority of people think that. So when they see her release something that's called Worthy, and it's about her and everything going on in a memoir, people are not interested in it because two reasons. Arrogance turns people off, but it also makes you not likable. And if you're not likable, people don't want to be associated with you. And I think whether Jada realized it or not, she's become a villain, but not even a fun villain. Like, you've got fun villains. You've got the Chael Sonnens, you got the Conor McGregors, you've got even Floyd Mayweather's. Like, see, people who are like a villain. Jake Paul, right? They're a villain on a purpose, and people like want to root against them. But then there's the other people who turn into this selfish way of doing things. And I think, and I could be wrong here, but from a leadership perspective, that if you're taking from people all the time, people are not going to be wanting to give to you. And I think for her, she's just taking. She took from Will. She took from.
Dude, Will Smith seems like totally opposite. Like, he'd be the type of guy, like, if I saw him, he'd give. Like, he just seems like just a great guy, doesn't he not?
He does. I mean, I don't know. I've never met him, but from what I've seen, his personality does seem that way. And I think she's the exact opposite. And I think this is a perfect case study of seeing that what arrogance, narcissism, and just being unlikable, what happens? People do not respond to it. The marketplace, even as jaded as we are, and even as messed up as we are, the marketplace just does not respond to it. We don't respond to people being arrogant.
You think that's why people don't like Trump a little bit?
So this is, again, I think that's one of the reasons, but also Trump is the villain for a lot of people, that people just can't get him out of their mouths, right? But for her, see, Trump brings something that, regardless whether you like him or not, he's entertaining. He's memorable.
Funny. I know people like Aunt Nancy who went, no, Trump's funny. Like, when he said, dude, he had so many great lines. Like, you know what's the difference between my hair and a wet raccoon? A wet raccoon doesn't have $1 billion effing dollars.
Yeah. So, it's funny. See, here's the thing. He adds some value to the marketplace by being entertaining.
Michelle Obama gives a great speech. My wife gives the same exact speech. People hate her for it, right? Like, he just takes it. It's hilarious. The guy, everybody's laughing. The guy is funny.
He is funny, and he adds some value to the marketplace by being entertaining. I think
the way he dances.
Yeah. I think with things like going on with Jada and things of that nature, I think it's just a good case study to remember to always check yourself. Of, like, I have behind me this book, Ego is the Enemy, right? This is
what's the other book, John C. Maxwell too?
Yeah, Good Leaders Ask Great Questions, and then DVD's Your Next 5 Moves.
I gotta read A Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. I haven't read that one yet.
Yeah, it's a great book. So, having said that, I think that again, I don't want to spend too much time on this. I think this is a good case study, especially when it comes to marketing. Jeff, if you were consulting Jada Pinkett Smith, what would you do to help her sell more books?
Yeah, just tell. So here's the thing. It's very simple. In this, you want to tell the story that you overcame. Like, hey, I would do this. Have you ever felt like nobody liked you or understood you? Well, that's how I feel right now. And I'm writing this memoir in case that happens, because I feel so alone in this world. I went and got everything I wanted for myself, and it's not everything. This is my memoir and my confessions to make me feel better. If you want to read my confessions of feeling better, that's what it would be. That would be the brand message I would do for her. Because
I think that's fantastic. But I think that causes her to be vulnerable and to let down her guard.
Which is why I won't work for anybody who wants to be a 50K branding thing. I won't work with anybody as an ego, because they won't do that.
All right, let's get to the next story, and then we'll wrap it up as
We gonna save Dana White goes woke until next one, or are we gonna?
I think that's the story that we're going to be talking about
All
right now. Hold on a second. All right, let's pull this up right now. So we're
By
going
the
to
way,
go.
great work by you, and good job by me not taking over control of the screen and keeping this one more in your realm, right?
Yes, good job by you, Jada. So Dana,
Very tough for me. I'm not going live. This is very tough for me to stay.
I appreciate it. I think it's going well though. Dana White responds to backlash over Bud Light UFC deal. Nobody tells me what to say. White has fired back at the political backlash over the deal. It's no secret that fight fans on the conservative side of politics have taken a liking to the UFC, but their feathers were ruffled recently when the promotion announced it would be partnering with Bud Light once again. While a situation like this would typically mean nothing more for fans other than a nostalgia trip, political views continue to make their way to sports, just about anything else enjoyable. Those on an anti-woke crusade criticized the UFC for relinking with Bud Light, as those people are still upset with Anheuser-Busch for the company's wokeness. The self-proclaimed boycotters truly became enraged when transgender TikTok influencer Dylan Mulvaney partnered with Bud Light for an ad campaign.
Oh, look, the UFC had Bud Light as a promotion before. So
Oh, of course. Yeah, they have.
we go back up with the caption on that. Bud Light and UFC and Bud Light go up. Bud Light and UFC are in business.
Business parts.
Yes, like I don't understand. This is like a non-story, but
Once again, I would agree. So
I mean, I get that. I saw some other.
White went on to blast one person who accused him of reading off of script during the Bud Light partnership announcement. I saw some other effing asshole today saying, "Oh, it sounds like they wrote him a script for what to say." Nobody writes me a script. Nobody tells me what to say ever. I do things because when I came out and I say something publicly, if you look at every quote that I put out, every quote is me. Everything that's posted on social media is me. And everything that comes out of this mouth is me. Nobody ever tells me what to say and nobody tells me what to do, ever.
I love Dana White.
I agree. Let's.
People are very opinionated about this, and it's almost like in the COVID thing, right? Through COVID, what did I say during COVID? Somebody's got to be first. And there were reasons why I felt we could be first going through COVID. Knew that we would do it right. Yada yada yada. You know the story. But when it comes to Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light, this was everybody talks about, oh, you did it for money. Hey, dummies, all sponsorship deals are about money. Okay. So when you talk about being a sellout, I had multiple deals in front of me. So it's not like, oh, Bud Light showed up and they were the only option I had to get money. You know how fucking stupid that is to think that, this was all about, and I said this yesterday, I'll say it again. Everybody on every side of this deal that were involved, other beer companies and everything else, absolutely positively know that this was not about money for me. We were going to end up with money with no matter who we ended up with. For Anheuser-Busch, it was about values, core values for me. I'm at a point in my life and I'm at a point in my career where nothing is just about money anymore. I am very aligned, and I saw some other fucking asshole today saying, oh, it sounds like they wrote him a script on what to say. Nobody writes me a script. Nobody tells me what to say, ever. I do things because when I come out and I say something publicly, if you look at every quote, right, that I put out, you can ask Lene, every quote is me. Every quote is me. Everything that's posted on social media is me. And everything that comes out of this mouth is me. Nobody tells me what to say and nobody tells me what to do, ever.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
That said about Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light yesterday are absolutely true. I am a big military law enforcement guy. They have this Folds of Honor where they've spent $44 million over the last however many years. Fallen first responders and military people, their families get taken care of with this money, scholarships for their kids, etc. That is right up my alley. Almost $1 billion a year go to US farmers for their crops, for their products. That is right up my alley. That's exactly who I am. 65,000 Americans are employed by Anheuser-Busch, and thousands of them are vets. Right up my alley. And I could keep going on forever and tell you why.
By the way, Bud Light.
Anheuser-Busch than any of the other beer companies that were offering to pay us money.
Bud Light seems like the most American, from the commercials to everything, the most blue collar, the most Republican type beer, up until the dilemma of anything. It felt like it made no sense. Okay, it felt like a total hiccup, and it lost them a lot of money. This seems more in their core values with Dana White, 100%. So the fact that everybody, and then listen, I don't even drink anymore. I remember going with all the police officers, and they all had Bud Light, and I would drink them there. And I think it's kind of a crummy beer, Bud Light, but what are you going to do? But
yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't like light beer, like Coors Light, Bud Light, Miller Light. Like,
I will say, when I had my ex-girlfriend Natalia, she used to make this Spanish deal. It was so cool. I'd work all day, come home. Dude, this made me the family life. I would do homework with her little one, and then I'd sit in the living room, and she'd turn on the TV for me. She'd take care of me. I felt like it was really nice. The relationship, and she'd bring out like whatever it was like refried greens, some Spanish food with this, and she'd always put hot sauce on it because they like, white people don't like any flavor. Spanish people do. So she put it all on there, but it was good. And then she'd always bring me a Coors Light, and it was so good with it. Like, I never drank it, but she's like, just relax. And because I was so hyper, because I am, it would get me to relax, right? It was good. I honestly, I love dating her. Like, those were good memories, honestly. So I have some good moments of Coors Light. Sometimes I'll drink a Coors Light just to think about that moment there.
So this is what I think, going back to Dana, I think what's happening right now is I think the Bud Light boycott worked. I think Bud Light severely paid for the decision that they made. And that decision comes from the top. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And that decision hurt them. And I think UFC coming in and choosing to do a deal with them, I think it's a smart deal by the UFC, because I imagine that they got them cheap. I don't imagine that they did it. They got them for a lot of money, but I don't know. I think it's a good move. And if anybody can bring back Bud Light, because Bud Light was the cool brand. Remember, they had the Waza and the cool you always wanted to see a Bud Light commercial for a guy. So if anybody can do it, I think Dana White can. I think the UFC can, because the UFC and Dana White is just like straight up the alley of, what American men like to watch. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out, according to like how Dana White says. We'll see how it all plays out. And I think it's not a bad move. I do not think Dana White is going woke. I think Dana White does whatever the hell he wants. And move. I do not think.
Sorry.
Oh no.
Well, no, I went and watched this on live.
Cool. All right, so let's get into the last story real quick. We've been on for about an hour and a half, which is good. I think once we have stories to go over and we have a systematic thing, I think it just flows a lot better.
Yeah, it does. I definitely am fighting the urge to tell random stories and go off, and I'm staying so on focus. I think it's way more entertaining that way. Like, I think that
I think you can. I think I'm just going to
reel it back in.
I'll definitely be reeling.
Yeah. So because I think next episode I'll be a little bit more myself, more reserved now. I'll have a new camera and I'll get a mic up. This is going to be the future home of Kokomo Jays here. All right. So the next, by the way, I haven't watched any Jake Paul stuff. I haven't watched anything. I haven't watched much news. We didn't talk any Israel Palestine,
We did not. And to be honest, maybe we can save that for next show. I think that is a very challenging thing to talk about, but I also think it's very simplistic as well.
Yeah, I think we should talk about it next time. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going away anytime soon. They're just feeding the flames on it. So But it's kind of like if you don't have an opinion, people are like, well, how dare you don't say anything to that? Like everybody wants everybody to pick a side. And Patrick and David said it well. By the way, you ever go to VT.com and read any of their news stories?
Yeah, we should actually do that.
Because they do that. They read it off VT.com. You notice that now?
They do sometimes, but other
Not
times.
all the time. No, not all the time. But we should read some off there too. I'll actually watch that more. Shout out to the Vault Energy Drink in VT.com.
So Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King, versus Francis Ngannou.
Dude, I'm so happy for my Francis Ngannou. My boy's getting paid. That's one of the toughest guys ever. Let it. And this is why Jake Paul, listen, I love Dana White, but Dana White's a good businessman with contracts in UFC, and he can't let all his fighters go leave and do boxing because everyone will, because it's a bigger payday, which is ridiculous. I guess they just pay more. So anyway, go ahead.
It's not always a bigger payday. Like, look at Jake Paul and not Jake Paul, Logan Paul and Dylan Dennis.
Yeah, did that really do 1.3 million pay-per-view buys?
No, I think it did 700,000 pay-per-view buys.
That's still quite a bit.
It is quite a bit. And I'm not saying that it's not.
For the non-quality of fighters on that, and nothing against Tommy Fury, because I think Tommy Fury is not a bad fighter, but KSI as a punk, I think I can beat him hopping around the ring. That was a horrible fight to watch. And then the Dylan Daniels fight, to go into, I thought was actually a good fight by Dylan Daniels because he's not a fighter, so he just didn't want to get knocked out. And I thought that was a good thing. I know people got mad at him, but Conor McGregor said, "My boy didn't even get wobbled," and I don't think that's, and I think Dylan Dennis is going through a lot. So I don't agree with how he went out and totally ranked Logan Paul. I know we're not talking about this, but one thing Logan Paul's dad said on the thing, and one thing I'll say about Logan Paul really quick is Logan Paul denounced God and his life went really bad. So don't denounce God. That's all I gotta say. It went horrible, and it's still reeling. Paul is now not the villain, and he's the most likable guy. Him and Canelo are like the face of boxing right now. I hate it or like it.
Yeah, Canelo definitely is. Tyson Fury is as well.
So okay, let's get into Tyson Fury story.
And Anthony Wilder and Anthony Joshua as well. But yeah, so getting into this, Tyson Fury, Gypsy King. Boxing expert if Peter Khan just locked in his Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury fight picks for Saturday in Saudi Arabia. So
Fury fighting in Saudi Arabia. I mean, we didn't even talk Volk.
We didn't. I don't even want to talk Volk. I love you, Volk. Fury is a negative 2,000 betting favorite, so risk 2,000 to win 100. While Ngannou returns a price of plus 1080 in the latest Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou odds. The over-under for total rounds finished is 4.5, with the under listed at 122 and the over offered at negative 156. Before locking in any Francis Ngannou versus Tyson Fury picks, make sure you see the boxing predictions. Khan is a true boxing insider.
Peter Khan.
Yeah. So this guy picked what everybody else is going to pick. Tyson Fury is going to win.
I'm going to go against it, and I'm going to say Francis Ngannou is going to. I think that guy's a different type of beast, and I think he's actually stronger than anybody else thinks. The guy did multiple knee surgeries, had an ACL. I think he's tougher than Tyson Fury. I think Tyson Fury is a Gypsy King and very interesting, but Tyson Fury had a tough time fighting Deontay Wilder. Very tough. You ever see any of those fights? Tyson Fury Wilder? Insane fights, dude. That's literally like Rocky. He gets knocked down and gets up.
I've trained as hard as I can for Francis. I've trained for a 10-round war, and anything less is a bonus, Fury said. You can't listen to the betting odds or what the pundits say or what anyone says. I don't take anybody lightly. This guy is hungry. This guy has a point to prove. You think I'm not going to train for him?
Dude, I agree. He's right. I agree. He should train. That's good that he is. But I believe Francis is hungry. He's like no other man if you look at Francis Ngannou, dude, that guy's like done crazy stuff in the UFC, you know?
Oh yeah, he is one of the hardest hitters. I watched him knock out Stipe.
Maybe
and it was-
can you bet this fight on better? Maybe I'll go bet. I told you at this place in Midtown here, 2 of the better employees work here, right?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, they work out at the gym in the morning.
How much is the pay-per-view? $80.
What are the undercards? Are there any good undercards to it, or is it all like dude? So you know how I always liked the Pro Bowl, and I was like celebrity baseball. I love celebrity boxing. Oh, EFC Boxing's asked about to come out of retirement the other day. You?
Yeah. It'll kick off at 2 p.m. Eastern. In the co-main event. Main event, Tyson Fury. I don't know who any of these people are.
Dude, I'm so mad I got my beat up. I want to take one more fight.
So who you bet? Who you
Francis,
So France is gonna win what round?
4th round.
I say Tyson Fury is gonna win. And how many rounds is it? Is it 10 rounds?
Heavyweight rounds don't last. Look at Francis's shape. Look at Tyson Fury's. Go back up to that. Tyson Fury never looks in shape.
Tyson Fury called Francis Ngannou fat.
He kind of has a
Said
mouth.
you never take your shirt off. You must be fat. Let's see. How many rounds is it? I just look it up.
By the way, shout out to Tommy Fury getting a bunch of YouTube money. He's worth like supposedly 10 million now. Tommy Fury, Jake Paul made Tommy Fury. You got to say that's true, right?
Definitely helped him. Yeah, he didn't make, but it's 10 rounds. So Tyson Fury in the 7th round.
All right. We'll see.
Yeah.
How much do UFC fights rounds go? Only 5, huh?
5.
So
They're
I will say this. Prince Ngannou in the 4th round, if it goes past 5, I think he gets tired. That's where I mean. Listen, I think this is a good fight. Actually, I don't think this is like not. I think I think you got 2 real brawlers, 2 real guys who like to fight. This is what they do. Dude, you know Francis's story, right? After he like tore his MCL, and then he had to one of the fights against that guy. By the way, I think UFC. I love heavyweight boxing. Heavyweight UFC seems like whoa.
I know.
Right? It's like big dudes.
So does heavyweight boxing. It does. Like when they hit. So if you watch a Floyd Mayweather fight, you go, these guys aren't doing anything. Like, yeah, it's little
featherweight. Right, yeah.
And like
watch a heavyweight. It's like,
you watch heavyweight.
Yeah, Lennox.
It's like boom, there's stuff going everywhere, you know.
That's what's so crazy about Evander Holyfield, because he was like he was a middleweight, or he was a welterweight, or whatever he was, junior weight, whatever. And he went up to get the heavyweight, which is it's tougher. Which is why I don't even understand what Volk did. I don't want to get into that, but he went out there as well. All right. So we didn't go through my social media at all on here, which I normally am used to doing show stuff.
Do you have anything you want to plug you got coming up?
No, we're not plugging anything on here. No plug zone. Unless people are paying, I will plug this. If you guys want to sponsor on this, is just streaming on so many platforms. Thanks to J&J Podcast. This is the first we'll bring. You can contact my guy, Nathan. He deals with sponsorships. We're taking them right now into opening 197. Okay, we'll read your sponsor on here. But it can't be Dylan McVaney, and it's got to be with our core values. All right? That's what I got to say for it. You know, maybe, hey, if Bud Light, you want to send us a couple for a sponsor, you know, maybe instead of Vault, I'll crack open a Bud Light on here, you know?
Maybe.
By the way, we should launch. One thing I will plug is on this channel. Maybe I recorded that whole video of us out here on my balcony with cigars and talking, and I never posted it. So maybe we can post that, and because that was I didn't want to post it because it was probably the last time I drank, and had a cigar.
When I was with you?
Yeah. I don't drink, dude. I drink around like family or funds. I don't know, Jasenia's coming. I'll plug this. I'm having the only time I brought an OnlyFans model to my brother's wedding. That video never came out. Maybe we'll launch that. Jasenia's gonna post that. Jasenia will be here. Her clothes she has the Halloween costume here. It's freaking Halloween. I gotta sell. I'm gonna be around Midtown Miami passing out these things to pack out the event. I'm giving away 2 tickets. I'm giving away a VIP day because I've been DMing every lady in Miami to go to this event or across the country. Next thing. We're a title sponsor of it. So I got to get my title cloth and I got to get my
breaking news right now. The suspect in the main mass shooting was found dead of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Yeah, so that makes no, I was gonna say this at the beginning, we didn't say this. Makes me mad. They always kill themselves. It actually made me happy that he wasn't alive because it's like such a coward way out, you know? But like, I'm almost glad he killed himself because with the justice system, he might get off, you know? It's no different than kamikaze and dude, it's the same type of evil that's in the Hamas people who are going and bombing stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's just no regard for human life.
By the way, I've been reading stuff because the media is done. I'm able to tease this last time that Hamas really didn't, there was no people who got shot and like there was no thing. It was all made up.
Yeah, so it's weird. What's going on right now is there's a lot of anti-Israel stuff coming out. And I think it's because Israel came out very strongly against Hamas. And people are extremely emotional about it. I've seen people on Twitter who are just like posting things like, my God, I hate Israel so much. This is such propaganda. What are they pushing right now? And people never even posting anything about it, but now they're posting about it. And I find it interesting because in the Bible, everybody turns their back on Israel. So I think we're just kind of slowly seeing that. And Israel has a right to defend itself. 100% they do. And I think Hamas coming to kill them and doing things of that nature. And I get it. It's weird that Israel has the highest intelligence and nobody like Hamas came and just started killing 1,500 people. They killed 1,500 people. Now Israel's just going after it. And now Hamas is using Palestinians as their shield. So Israel's just bombing and just not giving a shit and just going, fine, we'll kill you. We don't care. And they're killing a lot of innocent people in the process. So that's why people are saying, you know, Israel's so evil.
Oh, here's the thing. In war, anytime there's war, innocent people die.
1,500 innocent people died when Hamas attacked.
And by the way, do we even like, here's the thing. I don't even know. Like, here's the thing. Israel, me and one of my clients, he watched news. I did a coaching call with him, right? And I told him stop watching the news. And the only thing that got him to start watching the news again, and me included, was this, right? COVID happened. I never watched the news until COVID happened. Then I'm watching the news, right? It's like a bit, it hits around. Even Russia, Ukraine, I did watch, but not in this level. There's something different. There's a total different narrative. There was kind of like, it was like a little bit different, right? The fact that we're so challenged to choose sides, choose right, choose life, choose like Trump said it best when he said, I'm against people not dying. Like, that's really what it is. Okay. War sucks. First casualty of truth is war. I don't know how bad it was. Joe Rogan, I sent the clip. Joe Rogan had it on the thing. He had one of the ladies on, and he said, you look at Gaza and you look at Israel. Israel's been so protected. Everybody go visit Israel. All these countries that had maybe terrorist backgrounds were kept at such like almost a prison camp in where it was at, right? And they had such military. So is Benjamin Netanyahu like George W. Bush on 9/11? Did he allow this to happen so they can go bomb and take care of them? Like, these are all questions that
there's also like that phrase called mowing the lawn, where Israel does this every 3 to 5 years to do this, just to make sure the terrorists realize that, like, hey, we're just, you don't mess with us. And they take people's lives away because of it. And Israel's always felt like there's a target on their back. Now, again, remember, the way Israel feels is there's always been a target on their back because they're Jews. And obviously, that's everything that's happened with the Holocaust. And their whole thing was never again.
They're
right?
such a small country and they're surrounded by everybody, like Egypt's the whole thing. So it's just crazy but it shows that if they're God's chosen people, and this is exactly where listen, it shows that we're in the end times. People want to think the world's ending. This is it. I remember being young at a table and watching Dad, who studied the end times more than me, saying, watch Israel. And when all this about COVID, I was like, well, nothing's happened with Israel yet, right? I don't know. And listen, Dad's been right more than anything. He said, man, they're going to have these cameras where you're not going to know who did it or who not. We're there. They're going to have that. And then the movie Revelation with the fake news and the haters and everything is probably the closest out of all the stupid rapture movies, because there's some dumb ones out there, is the closest to where we're at now,
It's odd because now I see on X, on Twitter, that both sides are claiming whatever the other person is saying is false. Like, Hamas never really killed any people. Israel's not really killing that many people. And you don't even know what's true. Everybody is emotionally involved in this. I think it's taking over everything.
Yeah, Mike, the guy who's doing the AI thing, we went and got lunch with him. He was just trapped in Tel Aviv, and he told me how bad it was there. And there was, just the whole feeling of, bombs and stuff. And listen, did you see the Palestinian kid who was like so shocked? He was like scared shockless that there's.
I've seen horrible videos.
Yeah, horrible. It's pretty bad. And I'm such an empath that I own like both sides. Listen, it's not good on either side. Listen, there's no need for listen, it's just evil. At the end of the day, same thing for the mass shooter or terrorism and some of the stuff that's just really, I don't even want to say it so bad, like beheading babies, all this stuff that's said in here. It's just like it's demonic. At the end of the day, it's demonic at the end of the day. And listen, yeah, I believe it's just, and the fact that we're backing Israel with money again,
Yeah, now we're just sending money to different places and not even taking care of ourselves.
Right. And that's why I sent a lot of Trump stuff and big Trump says America first and everything. I think that's why he riles a lot of America. That same thing Vivek says. Yeah, I don't know how much Robert Kennedy says, but who do you think right now, episode 1 here, will be the next president of the United States in 2024? Do we even get the election in 2024? Do they shut it down?
I think it's going to be Biden. And then Biden, someone's going to
want to bet dinner on that. I bet it won't be Biden.
They were so good at getting him in office last time. Like, they installed him. He didn't win. He was installed. And
I believe where we're going, I believe it'll be Newsom.
And I'm very curious to see what's going on with Newsom, because he just went and visited Xi Jinping of China, and there's no reason for him to go visit Xi Jinping.
Yeah,
He's like, let's talk about the climate process, and California is one of the worst places regarding climate.
Vivek came out hot. I don't like Nikki Haley. I don't mind Nikki Haley, but I don't like her. But Vivek came out hot, and I think he's losing steam. He took a few things that it's just, I don't know. We'll see. Trump, if he's alive by then, will win 100%. If he's alive and ready to run,
they're going to do everything they possibly can.
There's no need on episode 1 here of me thinking, by as much as they've thrown at him, there's any way. If they did half the stuff and just pressed everything, they're gonna do everything he doesn't win.
So this is what I think. In a fair election, Trump will win. But it's not going to be a fair election.
Which is why I want to run for office. I really I'll give up my business, I'll sell my business. I will run for office, because I can't sit back here and just watch at all and just be like, oh, I'm gonna be fair. I want to be a player in some of it. Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
So what do we do right now that can help influence positive change for America if we're not in office?
Well, AOC said to write your congressman. I was watching her on live the other day. I think that does help, though. I actually think more now than ever. I think everybody else, that whole write your congressman thing, I don't know if they really care, but I think there's a few of them that care. I do think writing people for it, and not a change.org thing, but actually writing and calling and finding your representative and calling them. One of my advisors is a former governor of Arkansas. Sims Colby, really good guy. He said the quote at the vault, "Do not pray for lives to get easier, pray that you become stronger." He said the first thing you should do is pray. And I went up to him, I said, "Hey man," I said, "I don't know what it is, but I said, I might get into government. I'm going through media this realm, but you've been in government. I want to get on a call with you." And me got on a call with them, and who knows, man? But like, there's a lot of corrupt stuff in political office, and we're moving towards. Robert Kiyosaki said it. Worst case depression, best case civil war, or best case depression, worst case civil war. We're moving towards the civil war. It's really, they're just inciting all that way.
I think the best way is, before we start trying to change people and what they think to our way of thinking, to ask yourself, who has the most influence on this person? And if that person isn't you, don't try and change their thought process, because you're just going to make that person dig deep in their heels.
Which is why PBD wanted Trump to go on Joe, because PBD, a leader like you and thinks that way, he was urging Joe Rogan, who has the most influence, to have Trump on, because Joe Rogan has the influence that could, right?
Yeah, that could possibly change. Now, again, if it's a fair election, I think Trump wins. Or if it's a fair election, I think Biden loses. I think Biden's faithful are not that many. I think people are sick of what
I
Biden's
read
done.
the comments whenever I'm watching the news, and these are left-sided people who are Biden say, "I voted for Biden, never again." Comments, right?
Most of them are that way. I read I read Republican, I read Democrats, like Instagram, and whenever Biden posts something, it's like
There's
50%
no way.
positive, 85% negative on Biden.
You probably end this. There's no way, with people honking in horns, and it was still the same when he supposedly won then. And here we are. Listen, if he did win, whoever voted for him, I hope you're happy. That's all I gotta say, because literally, does one president make a difference? That's why I want to run for president. Trump, when he was in here, whatever you want to say, the news tried to kill him on Trump thing. We're in at war. The economy was decent. Even Bill Clinton. You can hate. I don't even love Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton economically was a good president. You look in his time, we actually had a good political. He knew how to schmooze people. He was the Democrat version of Trump. He was a playboy thing, and you had to schmooze people. Yasser Arafat. You have Trump schmoozing King John Moon, talking to these political. You got to be a schmoozer a little bit, right? Biden's not fit to run. Like, the thing that makes me so mad, everybody's saying, and I bought some of it, is Trump temperament good? Probably not. Maybe the guy's a little touchy. Okay, I'll give you that. Trump's he might go bomb a country like that with the red button, right? Maybe his temperament's not the best to be president. I was actually with people on that. The guy was fine. He's shaking hands with Kim Jong-un. Sure, his temperament was totally fine. You have Biden, who's going off on yelling people in this, and then he's totally falling out. He's totally not fit. Whatever physical.
Name me one.
Yeah, he's not, dude. If he's not fit to do this again, he is not fit to run in 2020. There's no reason why.
I just don't see.
And he is by far. I'll say this. I'll just go off on it. We're gonna go higher. He's by far, I believe, the most racist president. Okay, to run. With the 1994 crime bill saying put you back in chains, all these things in here too. And my biggest thing is to bridge the gap between a lot of stuff where we have still redlining, still all these things that aren't fair. They can be changed with political thing, and they're not. And Biden is a lot of the reason worse for him.
We're gonna end it on that. I'm in agreement with you guys. Thank you for watching. Jeff, you got anything to add?
No, but we should have Collins next time. We should have somebody call in, because we had Dad getting so mad to get or we should have Sean on one of these maybe or something.
Yeah, 100%. We should try and book guests for these as well, and then we could just still talk about our stories and have more input on them.
Yeah, I'm good at getting the guests. I can bring Chris Geffen in. You think he'd do this? He's always like, yeah, I'm down. I thought it'd be really cool,
Yeah, I'd love to. If we're doing it with Chris, I would do more of a health show but I would also still like to get his take on some of the things that are going on, because he has a very disciplined mindset. All right, that's it. That's all we got for you guys today. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, like and comment if you get value from this. Everybody have a great night.
By the way, really quick, how many episodes are we gonna do? Let's say a commitment to it. 1 to how many?
1,000 is when we go, do we want to do this anymore?
All right, sounds good. I think that's what Joe Rogan did too. So 1 to 1,000. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Have a great night, people.